All rights reserved by Dr. Whale Ratty and his students, the Unforgettable History Team. This podcast was produced in the academic year 2024 to 2025 for the Museum Education course, Department of Basic English, Faculty of Education, Helwyn University. The content is authorized for publication only within academic contexts. For commercial use, please contact the owner via the description provided.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going way back in time to ancient Egypt to explore the mysteries surrounding the age of the pyramids.
Ooh, exciting.
You've given us some really cool sources to work with, including research on 2 intriguing theories about the Giza pyramids and excerpts from an academic paper in Arabic,
Oh, wow.
the Itziya.pdf, which translates to Unforgettable History.
Okay.
This paper, it was written by a group of Egyptian university students, and it focuses on the history of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
Interesting.
We'll also be looking at artifacts from different periods of ancient Egypt that the paper highlights.
What's fascinating about this paper is it not only talks about these incredible artifacts, but dives into how the museum itself came to be, which is a story intertwined with politics, a bit of intrigue, and a nation's fight to protect its heritage.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We're starting with the museum itself. I'm already picturing Indiana Jones running through those halls.
Well, maybe not quite as adventurous, but it does involve a race against time. You see, back in the early 1800s, European interest in Egyptian antiquities was booming. And unfortunately, this led to artifacts being taken out of the country.
Wait, so Egypt had no say in what happened to these treasures. How did they react?
They took action. In 1835, Muhammad Ali Pasha, the ruler of Egypt at the time, issued a decree to stop the outflow of these precious artifacts. Think of it as a pivotal moment, the birth of a national museum, to safeguard their history.
So it wasn't just about pride, but about taking control of their own narrative. That's a power move. So where was this first museum?
It started small, housed near the Ezbekiya Gardens in Cairo. But as the collection grew, they had to relocate multiple times. First to the Cairo Citadel, then to a building in Bulak, which unfortunately was hit by a flood in 1878.
Oh, no.
This constant struggle for space highlights how vital it was for Egypt to protect its heritage, ultimately leading to the creation of the Grand Museum we know today in Tahrir Square.
Wow, talk about a journey. So from a small collection to this grand museum in Tahrir Square, that's quite a transformation.
It is, and it's a testament to Egypt's commitment to preserving its past.
Now let's talk about those artifacts highlighted in the student research.
Yeah.
The Narmer palette, for instance. I've heard of it, but can you refresh my memory about its significance?
The Narmer palette is more than just an artifact. It's a window into one of the most pivotal moments in ancient Egyptian history, the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, around 3100 BC. This carved slate palette depicts King Narmer, who's often credited with this unification.
Right.
On one side, he's wearing the white crown of Upper Egypt, symbolizing his victory over Lower Egypt, and on the other side, he's wearing the red crown of Lower Egypt, signifying his rule over a unified land.
So the Narmer palette isn't just a pretty artifact. It's arguably the first time humans decided to write down their history, marking a pivotal shift in how we understand the past. Amazing. The paper also mentions statues of Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, the pharaohs who built the Great Pyramids, right?
Yes, each statue is a unique snapshot of these powerful rulers. The only known full-body statue of Khufu, for instance, is surprisingly small, carved from ivory. It's delicate and intricate, reflecting the artistic skills of the Old Kingdom period.
A tiny Khufu. That's so unexpected. I always imagined pharaohs as larger-than-life figures.
It's incredible how such a small piece can tell us so much about a person, let alone a pharaoh.
What about Khafre's statue? You mentioned something about it being made from an incredibly hard stone.
Absolutely. It's called the miracle statue, because it's carved from diorite, a stone that's second only to diamond in hardness. Imagine trying to carve a statue with a spoon, even with modern tools. Replicating the precision and detail of this masterpiece would be incredibly difficult, which speaks volumes about the skill of ancient Egyptian artisans. Makes you wonder if they had tools or techniques that were more advanced than what we give them credit for, right?
Right, so we have a palette depicting unification, a surprisingly small Khufu, and a miracle diorite Khafre. The student research didn't stop there, did it? What about Menkaure?
The paper describes a beautiful statue of Menkaure standing side by side with his queen. It's a stunning example of how ancient Egyptian art often portrayed the pharaoh and his consort as equals exuding an aura of power and serenity.
So we have a palette telling a story of unification, a tiny ivory Khufu, a miracle diorite Khafre, and a powerful yet serene Menkaure with his queen.
Yes.
Each of these artifacts is a window into the lives and beliefs of the ancient Egyptians.
And that's just a glimpse into the treasures housed in the Egyptian Museum. It's an incredible place.
But let's shift gears and talk about those two alternative theories about the pyramids. The first one challenges the traditional timeline of ancient Egypt, proposing the pyramids are far older than conventionally believed. Talk about shaking up history. And the second one,
That one dives into the mystery of the Sphinx's erosion, suggesting that it too might have been crafted thousands of years earlier than mainstream archaeology claims. To unravel these mysteries, we need to understand how the pyramids are conventionally dated, which brings us to the Turin Papyrus.
so a papyrus scroll holds the key to the age of the pyramids. Lead the way. So a papyrus scroll holds the key to the age of the pyramids. Lead the way.
Think of the Turin Papyrus as an ancient document, almost like a king list. That helps us date events in ancient Egyptian history. The problem is it's damaged and incomplete, leaving historians to make educated guesses. Conventional dating also relies on the writings of Manetho, an Egyptian priest who lived centuries after the pyramids were built.
Okay.
While insightful, his writings could be subject to interpretation.
So it's like assembling a puzzle with missing pieces, and maybe a few from a different puzzle mixed in. Got it. But how does this connect to the pyramids being potentially older?
Well, this is where things get interesting. Remember that first theory about the pyramids being much older than we think? Robert Bauval, a Belgian engineer, came up with the Orion correlation theory. Using sophisticated astronomy software, he tracked the position of Orion's belt across millennia.
Hold on. Time traveling with software. Tell me more.
Not literally, of course, but by simulating the star's movements over thousands of years, he found that a perfect alignment between the pyramids and Orion's belt, as we see it today, actually occurred around 10,500 BC.
Wow.
That's thousands of years earlier than the conventionally accepted date for the pyramids' construction.
10,500 BC. That's a huge difference. Is that enough to convince the skeptics?
It's sparked a lot of debate, that's for sure. Many Egyptologists argue that Bauval's astronomical correlations are coincidental.
Okay.
But there's another twist. Remember that damaged Turin Papyrus we talked about? Well, one section mentions a mysterious era of the gods, predating the dynastic era of Egyptian history.
An era of the gods that sends shivers down my spine. Imagine the secrets that era might hold. But what exactly is the dynastic era?
Think of dynasties like royal families passing down power for generations. That's how Egypt was ruled for centuries. The papyrus doesn't give much detail about this era, but it makes you wonder, what if there's a whole chapter of Egyptian history that we're missing? A chapter that predates the pharaohs and might hold clues about the pyramid's true age.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. An unknown chapter of Egyptian history. This is getting good. Speaking of mysteries, there was also that ostrich egg you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
What does an ostrich egg have to do with the age of the pyramids?
This particular ostrich egg found in Aswan isn't your average breakfast item. It's covered in detailed carvings, including 3 pyramids and a river that looks a lot like the Nile.
Ancient Egyptians carving pyramids on eggs. That's one way to decorate your breakfast. What's so special about this egg?
The egg dates back to around 4500 BC, well before the conventional timeline for the construction of the Giza pyramids. It falls squarely within the pre-dynastic period, meaning before those royal dynasties came to power.
So we have an image of pyramids that predates the supposed construction of the actual pyramids. It's like a historical paradox.
Exactly. The egg raises questions about when the concept of pyramid building first emerged in ancient Egypt. Could it be that the Giza pyramids were inspired by earlier structures, or perhaps they were built much earlier than we think?
We've got Bauval's astronomical alignments, a damaged papyrus hinting at an era of the gods, and now a pre-dynastic ostrich egg with pyramids on it. It's a lot to process.
It really highlights the complexities of piecing together the past. We explored the pyramids and the debates around their age. Now let's turn our attention to another ancient wonder, shrouded in mystery, the Sphinx.
Ah, the Sphinx. That enigmatic smile has always captivated me. But I thought we knew who built it and when.
Mainstream archaeology tells us it was carved around 2500 BC during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre.
Right.
But geologist Robert Shook challenges that timeline.
Interesting.
He's fascinated by the Sphinx's erosion patterns, which he believes don't line up with typical wind erosion seen in the desert.
So if it's not wind, then what? Sandstorms. Ancient graffiti artists with really powerful chisels.
Shook points to water as the culprit.
Really?
He's observed erosion patterns on the Sphinx, particularly around the base, that are much more characteristic of water erosion.
Water erosion. But Egypt is a desert. Where would all that water come from?
And that's precisely his point. Schott argues that this type of erosion on the Sphinx means it would have had to be exposed to heavy and prolonged rainfall.
So he's suggesting that the Sphinx was carved when Egypt had a much wetter climate. Is there any evidence to back that up?
There is. Geological evidence suggests that Egypt was much wetter thousands of years ago, long before the conventional date for the Sphinx's construction. Plus, there are no inscriptions or historical records directly linking the Sphinx to Khafre.
So we have a lack of evidence supporting the conventional timeline and geological evidence that points to a much earlier date. This seems to be a recurring theme. But if the evidence is so compelling, why aren't these theories widely accepted?
It's not that simple. While these theories are fascinating, they challenge long-held beliefs about ancient history and the capabilities of ancient civilizations. It takes time for new ideas to be accepted, especially when they shake up what we thought we knew.
I guess that makes sense. Okay, so where do we go from here? We've explored the Egyptian Museum's journey, dived into the Orion correlation theory, and now unpacked the debate surrounding the age of the pyramids and the Sphinx. What's the takeaway from all this?
I think the main takeaway is that the history of ancient Egypt, particularly the period surrounding the pyramids, is still a work in progress. While controversial, the theories we've discussed today remind us that there's still so much we don't know about this remarkable civilization.
We're left with more questions than answers, which is pretty exciting when you think about it. It's like the more we learn, the more we realize how much more there is to discover.
Exactly. And remember, even established timelines are based on interpretations of available evidence. As new evidence emerges and new perspectives are presented, our understanding of the past can and should evolve.
So what are your final thoughts? These alternative timelines, do they hold any weight? What kind of research would solidify these claims?
That's the beauty of history. It's an ongoing conversation. While these theories are intriguing, they remain just that, theories. They're not widely accepted by mainstream archaeology. But the evidence presented raises thought-provoking questions about our understanding of ancient Egypt. Could this civilization be much older than we thought? Were their capabilities far beyond what we give them credit for? We may never have all the answers, but it's the questioning that leads to discovery.
That's a great note to end on. So much of history is about interpretation, questioning, and piecing together the puzzle, even when we're missing some pieces.
And that's what makes it so fascinating. There's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to question. So keep diving deep, keep those questions coming, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to uncover the next great historical revelation.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring and never stop questioning. So what are your final thoughts? These alternative timelines, do they hold any weight? What kind of research would solidify these claims?
That's the beauty of history. It's an ongoing conversation. While these theories are intriguing, they remain just that, theories. They're not widely accepted by mainstream archaeology. But the evidence presented raises thought-provoking questions about our understanding of ancient Egypt. Could this civilization be much older than we thought? Were their capabilities far beyond what we give them credit for? We may never have all the answers, but it's the questioning that leads to discovery.
It really makes you think about how much we still don't know about our past. It's almost like we're looking at these ancient wonders with fresh eyes, questioning everything we thought we knew.
And sometimes questioning the seemingly obvious leads to the most fascinating insights. Take the tools used to build the pyramids, for example.
You mean those copper tools they supposedly used? I always wondered about that. Even with thousands of workers, wouldn't it have taken an incredibly long time to build structures as massive as the pyramids with just copper tools?
Exactly. And that's where the debate lies. While copper was certainly used, some researchers believe the precision and scale of the pyramids would have required more advanced tools than what we typically associate with ancient Egypt.
So are we talking about lost technologies? Did the ancient Egyptians have some secret stash of power tools hidden away?
Maybe not power tools in the modern sense, but the idea that ancient Egyptians might have possessed knowledge and techniques that have since been lost to time is a compelling one. Think about it. What if there are chapters of history we haven't uncovered yet? Technologies and knowledge lost to the sands of time.
It's almost like those optical illusions where you see one thing and then suddenly your perception shifts and you see something entirely different.
It is. These alternative theories offer a new perspective on the past and open up a whole realm of possibilities. Maybe we haven't been giving ancient civilizations enough credit for their ingenuity and capabilities.
So we've questioned the tools, the timeline, the origins of the builders. It feels like everything we thought we knew about the pyramids is up for debate.
In a way, yes. And that's what makes these theories so exciting. They challenge us to rethink our assumptions and to consider new possibilities. We may never have all the answers, but it's the questioning that leads to discovery. The pyramids and the Sphinx, they're not just monuments, they're testaments to human ingenuity, creativity, and ambition.
And they continue to inspire awe and curiosity thousands of years after they were built. You've given us a lot to think about. What stands out to you about all this? Do you think these alternative timelines hold weight? And what further research would you like to see to investigate these claims? This is what the deep dive is all about, diving into complex topics, considering different perspectives, and leaving you with more questions than answers. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring and never stop questioning.